Deepesh, one prominent question that every student here wants to know from a UX designer like yourself, a very prominent one is how it all started, from where it all started. What are the experiences, the learning outcomes that you got in this journey of becoming a UX designer?
Yes, I get this question a lot. Uh, of course, from new budding students who are looking to get in the field. Uh, well, there's a big answer. There's a short answer as well, right? So the short answer is you pick the skill, go crazy about it, day and night, and you're there. That's the short version.
All
And
right, all right.
then there's a bigger version where so basically I can talk about my journey.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Let's hear it.
And yeah, so it started with me in college. In my third year I learned about UX design as a field, while I was myself a computer science engineer, um, enrolled into that course, but I didn't like see myself doing that. So I learned about it, and in my third year I, instead of doing a computer science internship, I basically went to ImaginXP to do the course.
All right.
And there,
Okay.
fortunately enough, I got an internship with Fortune Cookie. So I would basically do the course on the weekends and work as a fresh intern for free for Fortune Cookie on the weekdays. So that's
Okay.
how
Okay.
I learned about what UX is, uh, like how it's done, what's the process like. It began with in Pune, right? As I said, in my third year, I went there to do the course. It worked out well. I fell in love with user experience. I went back and I was never an engineer when I went back. Uh, the whole department, my HOD wanted me to be an engineer. I didn't want, so I kind of become that a different person in the department, where they didn't see, okay, this guy is not getting placed, and I was like, okay, I'll get my own placement, you'll see. So that's how the journey began. And then while I was doing the internship, I got a pre-placement opportunity. After my final year, I went back to Fortune Cookie. I did some amazing projects there. Then like us, Fortune Cookie ended up getting acquired by Ernst and Young. So then I became part of EY. There I worked on a lot of projects, massive clients from all around the world, uh, from different industries.
A couple of interesting projects probably that you can share about.
Um, yeah, the most interesting one and the most fun one, and actually the one which actually made me learn what being a lead is. So the transition that you make from being just a designer to a person which everybody is relying on to deliver the project, right? So that happened with me in a project called Manipal Signa. So as you must be aware, Manipal Signa is a health insurance provider,
Correct.
right? So they work in the healthcare industry because they just don't have health insurance, but they have a few other small things as well, right? So there we had to do the digital transformation of their whole business, right? They wanted to go digital first. They needed an online presence, and they wanted to compete with the likes of Lemonade, right? So it was a massive challenge, given that in India, health insurance is not seen as a very important thing, because India in general it's the most second most uninsured population in the world, right? So the challenges were to make people aware of what health insurance is, why you should have it, why you must have it, what are the good things and bad things that can happen to you, right? And right now, if you go online and see health insurance websites, like back in the day, when we did this project, at least, it was very difficult to understand what a health insurance basically does, right? Like if I just want to understand what this one single policy does, it's so difficult. There are so many terms, so many jargons, right? And not just the language aspect of it, but how it's presented to the customer, right? So most of the brands would assume, because they are not doing user research, that people just know what health insurance is, we just need to sell it, right? But
Correct.
the deeper problem was that people first need to understand what health insurance is, why they require it, and then you should go from there and approach selling, right? So uh, not just the digital presence of theirs, but the change in mindset of how they would approach selling to people, right? So that all happened in that project. uh, they were like, it was humongous. There were so many teams involved, right? We actually went down to their office. We worked there like 2 3 weeks with the whole team. We sat with them. There were like days where we were just, just talk. We had so many talks, like so many talks to get people onboarded, right? And there were massive meetings. In that project itself, I got the opportunity to present the whole thing to the CEO itself. And it was a great experience, man. I cherish that project till now, because that was the like biggest learning so far. So that was one Manipal Signa, right? And then I also got the opportunity to work for a project which was for the government of India. So we basically made the website for the principal scientific advisor of India. Uh, the person who is responsible uh, for advising the Prime Minister of India on the topics of science and technology, right? So for that person, we had to create their online presence and tell people, okay, there's a prominent person in the government who looks after these things, right? So that's another project that we did over there. And then there were so many more, so many more, from banking to gaming, right? So many industries were there. After that, I got a chance to go to Bosch. I was sent on site from EY. I was working with Bosch India, and that was my first project where I got international exposure. Because while we were working from Bangalore, our clients sat in Japan and Dubai, and our product owner was also in Japan. So, there was time barrier and there was the language barrier, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
to get people, and these people like that I was working with was were very conservative in nature. They didn't really know what UX has to offer. Like the biggest misconception in the industry, which is still true, unfortunately, is that people see UX as something which just makes things look pretty, right? So how do you challenge that and change that perception of your clients and your product owners, so they actually see value in the process of what you're doing?
True.
That was a humongous challenge. So we did that. So in order to tackle that, what we did was we showed them user research. We did user interviews, and then we showed them, okay, these are the problems that people are facing, right? While you want us to design something, but these are the problems that people are facing, and they had no clue that people were facing these problems, right? So for them, it was a wake up call. Okay, amazing. Like now you know what is going wrong, so now you can fix it. So then they relied on us a lot. And that was a project where I heavily depended on interaction design, because as a part of getting all of the stakeholders onboarded to learn about what we are doing, we had to create interactive prototypes, and those prototypes had animations, right? And in 2019, 2020, prototypes and animations were still a big thing, but stakeholders were not used to see it in their projects, because not everybody did it. Now,
Correct.
because we did it, it went well for us. They were very, very impressed. We got great reviews, and fortunately enough, the development team there was awesome. They supported us all the way. It was quite a project. and we did card sorting, like exercises like card sorting and user interviews. So uh, basically when the pandemic hit, right, everything went remote, like all of your user research went remote. So we were doing
Exactly.
all of that before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit, I already knew what to do because I've already done it before, because people were not in India and we could not go there, right? So that was also quite an experience. And then I I moved to Digitas India. I worked for automotive clients, which are huge in India, the likes of uh, Hero and TVS, right? And then I also work for the gaming industry. So the HP Omen gaming thing. The Omen is the line of laptops which is for gaming specifically from HP. Uh,
Okay.
so when they saw that in India, we have got a massive following for esports, right? But people don't like in normally people don't see esports as a sport. Like for people like till now, it's seen as a time wasting activity. Like what are you doing? Why are you wasting so much time? Like what how it used to be for Instagram, right? Now people are earning
Exactly. Exactly.
crazy amount of money from it, right? So they saw that and they wanted to create a platform where people would come learn about gaming. People get empowered. Like if you want to learn a specific skill, right, for gaming, so where do you go to learn that, right? Where do I get the best guidance from the prominent gamers in India, right? So that was a place in the beta phase that we created for HP, and that also went well, right? It was amazing again. Just the so UX as a field, right? You can get a little intimidated with all of the processes and methodologies everyone's throwing around. If you go to LinkedIn, uh, like on an average in a day, you'll see 100 methodologies, right? It can get very intimidating, but it's very important, very crucial for us to fall in love with that process, because it's
Correct.
going to hurt you. Right, there are going to be times where you'll not be wanting to push forward, right? But you should fall in love with the process, and it's not the same for every project, right? And then so the the aspect where you are just a person, a designer, and you step into different companies, you work for different clients, and then you have to basically get yourself to a level where you're an expert, right? So if I'm a designer, right, and a client wants me to work on a banking project, then they like already they have this expectation that I should know everything about their application.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
I should be an
Correct.
expert in that area already, right? I haven't even started work. So you get a chance to learn about everything. Like being a UX designer, you can literally learn about everything in the world, right? You can, it's just a matter of where you go, what you do, but you are going to learn so many things. And then I think that kind of helps me also in delivering the right thing for the users.
Dipesh,
Um,
this particular, that field of UX that's constantly evolving. So how do you, what are the most significant trends you foresee in the for this the future of UX design?
well, I'm not a very big follower of trends, because trends keep shifting, trends keep
Correct.
changing.
Correct.
But it's the
Correct.
underlying fundamental principles that each should master, and then they can create their own trends, right? But if we have to talk about the future of UX, what's the next big thing which is coming in? Then I think everybody knows the answer. It's artificial intelligence and machine learning, because when you go into the territory, right, the the landscape, it's infinite. It can do so many things, so many things. It can make our lives as designers easy, and at the same time, it can help provide the kind of experience that people actually need. So the difference between want and need, right? What people want and what people need is very very different, right? So what people need actually. So I need more personalization. I want to be treated as the VIP customer in every service I go. right? So if I'm using Netflix, I don't care if you are catering to 10,000 people. For my experience should be amazing, right? That's the mindset, right? So
Correct.
AI can help us reach there. So, and how difficult it is for you to order something online, or what, or decide what to watch on Netflix. How difficult that is, right? That's so difficult because there's so many movies, so many series, there's so many cuisines to choose from, and you're just hungry, right? How do you make the choice? So AI ML are going to step into that territory. They are going to help us ease the decision making. So, and currently what happens is, while we do use a lot of technology, but it's still very much dependent on how the product managers see the product, and how the designer is approaching the problem to solve, right? And that's different for everyone, right? But if you have artificial intelligence or machine learning along with it, right, then you have so you initially had the product manager and the user experience designer, and now you have a third arm, AI and ML, which are going to step in between, and they are going to help bridge the gaps between the business and the design, right? So most of the times the bigger challenges in project is not delivering. The bigger challenge is to getting all of the stakeholders onboarded to what you are creating. The bigger challenge is to make them see the value of what you're creating, right? So that comes from research. Now, if I'll give you an example, right? Back, if we go back 7 8 years, we didn't have transcription in meetings, right? So it used to be a meeting where you can record meetings, but you don't see a transcript of it, right?
Exactly.
The transcripts came in. Now imagine how revolutionary that feature was, that when you are, as a user experience researcher, for example, you did a research online, right? And now you want to evaluate it. You have the transcript, and that's so easy, versus when you didn't have a transcript and you had to take notes manually, right? So technology is slowly, making our lives easier. And there is going to be a time, I think not very far away from now, where we will have plugins who will evaluate and analyze our recordings, like how Grammarly does. So so Grammarly can basically sense everything from what you have written, what you're trying to convey, the tone of voice, your grammar, everything, right? And this, in the same way, we can maybe program a AI or a ML program that will help us evaluate a user interview recording, right? So I think that's the next big thing. Apart from that, when it comes to design trends, right? So I would say there's a new player in town, which is spatial design, right? So spatial design existed before, but now it's a big thing because Apple has created a product for it. So Apple creates industries, is how I see it. So you got the Vision Pro, right? The Vision Pro has launched, and like, if somebody has not seen the keynote and the product reviews of Vision Pro, you should definitely go and see it, because it tells you just how far we have come, like as people, creating interfaces, right? So in spatial, you have the whole real estate. So the world is your real estate, right? And you have to design according to that. So how, we had first desktop, we had mobile, we had responsive, right? And now spatial. So spatial is the next big thing. So AI, ML, and spatial design, they are going to turn the world around.
All right. Dipesh, speaking of all the advancements and all the developments that take place in the field of UX, so what's the confined way to stay updated, or let's say follow some channels or follow some communities? So now the the young minds who are planning to see a future, or they are at least seeing themselves as UX designers. So what are the tips and tricks that they need to take into consideration so that they're updated, they're not lost in space, that, oh, this is also there, this also come up, what am I missing on?
Yes, I have also had this. So when when I when Adobe XD was on its top, right, Figma entered, and
Yeah.
everybody, I think I also had FOMO. Like, I'm not learning Figma. My company is not working on Figma. I don't know Figma, but the whole world is. So how do I get behind this train? That will happen. You should accept that, like, and it will happen in life. Things will change, and now as the time progresses, things will change even more rapidly, right? So you need to do a few things. uh, Firstly, you need to dedicate at least 1 hour a day to read about your craft, right? So your craft, if for example is user experience design, so you need to allocate 1 hour a day to read about it. It can be anything. It can be a medium article also, right? But you need to take that 1 hour, sit on your laptop and see what's happening in the world, so that you are at least familiar with what's happening. You are not left out, right? And when the time is right, and when there's actually a need, so you know that thing, okay, this is happening, but now I just need to get myself more proficient in it, or I just need to learn more about it, right? So because let's accept this fact also, not everybody can be great in everything, right? There are two kinds of companies in the world. There are generalist companies and there are specialist companies. Generalist companies are companies who prefer people who are generalist in their craft. So there is a term called full stack designer, right? So a full stack designer knows all the aspects of the process, and they are going to work there as a generalist. And a specialist is, for example, like if I'm an information architect, then I do my job best, and there is a part of me, of myself, to play in the team, right? So you become either that or those, right? You can never learn everything. So the best approach that I take is to just be familiar with what's happening around the world. Just know what's happening, so that when there's a time of need, you know that this exists. You'll not feel overwhelmed, and you'll just go and learn it, right? You can do this in ways of like there are so many resources available now. So you got, even if you go on LinkedIn, right? There are like prominent figures like Joe Natoli, right? And he creates some of the best courses online, right? He's there, he's talking about what UX, why UX processes, methodologies, etc. Now even from that post you can learn so much. Then you can subscribe to so many newsletters online. There are so many UX communities online. One that's my favorite is the Nielsen Normal group, because they sort of spearhead the UX transformation of the world, right? So that also, so it's not very difficult, right? You don't need to see yourself as, okay, I'll learn everything. You just need to be familiar with what's going on, and they'll help you. And if you really find something which is helpful for you, right? For example, say you're a student, right? And you are still learning about UX. What's UX? So you should read a lot about the history of UX. Where is it coming from? Where did it start? Who coined this term? Why did we even created this profession? What was the need, right? So if you're entering into the field, you should know the history of it. Like, why is it happening? Because it's not history. I mean, it is, like, technically it's history, but it's not very far away in the time, right? It's very recent. uh, like in the 90s it started gaining so much traction, right? So you just learn about the history and you go from there.
Dipesh, talking of being a part of all these projects that you already worked with. So, any project that you can discuss about where it was a challenging problem in terms of the whole taking the project forward or the designing part of it. So, what are the steps? Two parts of the question. So, first, for our students here, like what is the very first step that you basically do in order to approach or to start off with a project, and what are the key essential points that you need to keep in mind, and how do you work about it?
Okay, that's a very good question. Uh, so first of all, every project is different, and you need to approach every project in a different way. The approach cannot be same for every project. I'll talk about one of my experiences. So I was working for Cvent, right? And there we had to redesign a certain module of the product, which is very, very important, right? And Cvent was my first product design job versus when I was first working as a user experience designer. So as a product designer, you have more accountability, more ownership about of what you're creating, what you're building, because it's going straight to the world, right? And and the company heavily depends on you, so you should know about business as well as much as you know about design, right? So there was this one module which caters to money related problems, and that's very important for everyone because money is money, right? So the thing was, we had something already designed. The basic ask was to reskin it. So basically, convert it into a newer UI because we have a new design system in place, right? But while doing that, you realize that okay, while I'm making the transition of UI, but there are some things which are not working fine, which are not the way they should be, right? So and where does that come from? So you know about the heuristics and principles and laws of UX in your mind already, and you see something from that lens, and you're like, okay, this is not right. I need to change that. So I talked to the the product manager that this is not right. Before, like in the process of doing so, can we make a smaller objective of fixing these things also, right? So you really like now stakeholder, like manager is one of the most important stakeholders. So you talk to him, you get him on board, and you start working on it now. Now, what will happen is that as a designer, like in a product-driven company, you are the owner of your own work. Nobody is going to come and say, okay, Dipesh, you should do it like this or you should do it like that, because everybody is so busy doing their jobs. You need to figure this out yourself. Like, what is the right path for me to approach this problem, right? So we had this one system already. I saw a few heuristic flaws. So I had where I want to start. Okay. I know there are some heuristic flaws, so I'll start from there. So what I did was did a heuristic study with my whole team. So we had like 20-25 designers in the team, and we all came in a call. We did a heuristic exercise, arrived to a few problems, right? So that gives us the validation from the UX community in my company that okay, these are actually valid problems or not, right? So now I have a list of valid problems from the UX point of view. Now I need to understand problems from the user's point of view, right? So for that we didn't have much time, right? So time is always going to be a constraint in your lives if you're going to be a UX designer. So you have to figure out time efficient ways. We didn't have the liberty to recruit real users, right? But we had teams. So we had teams which work very closely with our users to help them set up the product, right? And they work with the users every day, so they know most of their pain points, right? So that is the closest thing we went to. So we went to them, we did interviews of theirs, right? And so now we have pain points from the UX community in my company, and now I have pain points from the implementation team, which tell me, okay, the users are facing these problems. This is the so that doesn't get you to the uh, exact problem, right? But that gets you very close to what the problem is, right? So you achieve at least 90% accuracy sometimes. So we were there, and then we were like, okay, we have good amount of problems to solve now, right? So let's go ahead and solve them. We created the designs, we created the information architecture, we created prototypes, we did rapid prototyping very quickly because we had to move through iterations quickly. And then we had first version of a prototype, and we had it tested with the users, with the real users this time. So we're like, okay, we have like 90% of the things right. Let's see. If we go to the user test, there's only a risk of 10% that this won't work right. And if that 10% doesn't work fine, then we can fix it in time. We have that much time, right? Now, when you see like all of these events that happen, right? That these events don't happen in like in a normal process. This is not a generalized process, right? So you have to sort of figure out on yourself that what's needed from by the company, what's needed by the product manager, and what's needed for the users, and you have to sort then make everybody come to a common ground and say, okay, this is how we can work about. What is the proper work of a UX designer? Like if a UX designer is working in the company, so the UX designer designs the whole website or the app. So what will be his work in that company? Will it be to upgrade the design, or he will get a new project? Okay. So Piyush, what happens is that for every company, the definition of a UX designer is different, right? While there is a universally accepted UX design definition, but for each company, it's a different thing. Every company approaches the design discipline in a different way, because first of all, not every company has the right amount of money and time resources to allocate to design, right? That's just I mean it. I know it's not right, right? But that's just how it is. Like, because you have companies of different sizes. So you got companies which are, bootstrap companies. There are startup companies. There are well established companies. So every company will approach the design discipline in a different way. Now, when talk from a generic point of view, right? As a designer, what happens is you are expected to solve problems for yourself, for the company, and for the users. That's what my experience has been. That you will be brought in the company, and they'll say, "Okay, Deepesh, we need to build this application." uh, if you're a junior designer, then you might have a senior designer who's guiding you. If you are a senior designer, then you have to take the lead in the process. So if you are a senior designer, you tell them, okay, this is how, give me some time, let me think about it, let me understand the requirement first. So it all starts with understanding the requirement first, that what's the need, why is it needed. You have to ask a lot of questions, a lot of whys and whats and hows. uh, don't stop. If somebody is asking you to stop asking questions, don't, because that's literally your job, right? You have to ask a lot of questions and understand, like, you have to understand at the first place that what you are working on, is it actually the right thing, is it actually the right problem that I'm solving or not, right? But you should at the same time not also get stuck in the loop and say, okay, I'll just keep circling back to it. So you should not do it. You first understand the requirement, right? And then you see what's needed. So in a project where you say, I give an example of heuristic analysis. So if something is already existing, I usually start with a heuristic analysis that gives me a good insight of, what's happening in that system. And then you go on and see, okay, these are the problems. So if now, what are the problems? Is it a navigation problem, or is it uh, a layout problem, or is it a feature problem, right? So the problems that you're trying to solve actually govern what activity you're going to take up next. So if it's a navigation problem, right, so I would, after heuristic analysis, I would try to talk to users, of course, because you never take the users after the loop. And then you do a card sorting exercise with the users, right? So now the context of your process has become towards a navigational problem. So you started with the heuristic analysis, you validated your uh, problems and solutions, and then you moved on to card sorting. So now you're working towards that direction, right? Now that direction will be different for each kind of a problem, right? For example, it can happen that there is a prototyping problem, right? So you first have to, like, I think till user interviews, you need to go. And there are at times where there are well established companies that you will also learn about data and insights. So they've got these analytics tools. From there you can take up the data and validate your own theories. So you create your own theories, right? You say, okay, I heard the user was saying this, I see that heuristic has this problem, so I think this will be a problem, and these are some of the data and visualizations analysis that I have, so I'll validate this from that and see if it's working out right or not, right? So you sort of become like a scientist. You see what is working out, how it's working out, what's not. And then you, I mean, if the problem is for example solved in card sorting, right? And then you create a new information architecture and you see how that architecture can be now fitted into the existing design. What are the things that you need to change, right? So you do analysis of things and say, okay, these are the things which will need to change, these will not change. And there are also business constraints also, that only, for example, if the product manager says you can only fix three things in the current quarter because we have the budget of three features only, so you put the next three features further into the roadmap for the next 6 months, or whenever it's feasible and possible for the company, right? So you do that, and then you create the designs, prototype it, right, test it with the users, iterate, and then release, and then you iterate, right? So that's how a typical process might work out for a designer. It can be a new website. They can say, create a new website, right? So how do you approach a new thing? So if something is existing, you will just see what are the problems which are in the new thing. If it doesn't exist altogether, then you need the business requirements from your business and say, what are we creating, why are we creating it, what is the vision, what is the mission, right? You understand all of those things, and from that you try to derive your own understanding. Okay, the mission is this, the vision is this, what we are creating is this, right? So what is something that we should research about, right? So you work with your teammates, you brainstorm, you come to a common ground and say, okay, this is the most important topic for research, this is the something that we don't understand, right? That is one way. The other way is you can create your own assumptions, right? You list down all of your assumptions and say, these are the theories that I have from my understanding, from my own internet research, and this is how, and we should validate these assumptions by user research, right? That is another way. So you sort of figure out the ways by yourself. When you are in that environment, you have to figure out it yourself. It's different for everything. There's no generalized process, right? And then it might happen. So when you're sometimes working in a service based company, you will be asked to work on a project, and then you work on the project and it's gone, like the contract ends, you have delivered the project and it's gone, so you don't get to see it back for further improvements, right? But the great thing about product company is their product focus. So you work on something and you treat it as your baby, right? You care and nurture it, and you help it grow, right? And you help it spread. So that's how that's what the difference is between the service and the product based companies. I hope I was able to answer the question, Piyush. Okay, new question, Hardik. Some companies post a salary about 10 to 12 lakhs an annum in their job post for a candidate 1 to 3 years of experience. So what is the possibility of getting the same kind of salary for freshers for a year experience? Well, you've already mentioned that people are posting 10 to 12 lakhs for 1 to 3 years, right? So you're already in that bracket. You just need to make them, like, make sure that you make them see the value in you in the interview, and they'll give you the job, right? So if the bracket is 1 to 3 years, you're already eligible for that. You just need to do it the right way, make them see the value of what you will bring to the table, your attitude and everything, and it'll work out for you.
We have one more question here. I
Yeah.
think it's on top. Where did it go? I think it's from Piyush only. What is the salary of a fresher after graduation as a UX designer, and does it matter that does it matter the college where he or she has got the BTech degree from?
Hmm, good question. So mm, the entry level package for freshers, I think it depends again from from the country. Each country is different, first of all, and the type of company that you're applying in, it also varies from company to company. You basically, so you have to understand how companies also work, right? So if you're working for a bootstrapped company, they are not going to have a lot of budget for a UX designer versus a well established company, let's say a Microsoft, right? So they are going to already have a lot of money, right? So it depends on companies, right? But if you have to, get a general overview of what the salaries look like, you should go to LinkedIn, right? And there is a feature where you can see on location basis that what is the average package for a person of how many experiences of years of experience. So you can check that on LinkedIn and you'll get a good graph and see what's the average, what's the minimum, what's the maximum you can get. You can check it over there. Also, it like for me, I'm from a tier 3 college, uh, and my college is actually shut down. I was the last batch who passed out of that college, right? So it really doesn't matter which college you're from. That's the beauty of it, right? The world that we are moving towards is more of a skill based world. So if you're good at something, you do it great, then you are going to be valued. It should not matter where you're coming from, because I myself would not have imagined myself being where I am when I graduated out of college. So don't let that sweep in. Uh, Keep yourself motivated and just work hard, and you'll get there.
Any more questions, guys? Deepesh is still here with us for a couple of more minutes
Yes, I
from
think
his
I'll
busy
answer that.
schedule.
I'll answer that AI/ML question, which
I
somebody
will
was
will
asking.
take that question up then.
Yes, Varun Kumar. Can you tell me more about AI/ML at the end, sir? Through AI/ML, can we become UX designer? Okay, nice question. Uh, so AI/ML is not here to replace us completely. While it will happen that a lot of jobs will be automated and only high skilled people will be uh, having jobs when the AI/ML transition has completely happened, right? You cannot become a designer by just using AI and ML, because you see the thing is the business that you're in, user experience, right? It has user embedded into it, right? And it's a human thing, right? We've all seen how great Siri and Google are understanding human emotions, right? And now we've got Chat GPT. So there are going to be advancements over the years, but you first need to understand that it's a user to user thing, that you are a person, you're a human being, you are designing for other human beings. So you know a lot of things which the AI will never be able to. We don't know yet, right? So you cannot completely rely on AI and say, okay, I've got this cool website, I've got this cool app, and they'll help me become the best designer, right? uh, you can make use of those resources if you know the right skills. Like, are you a good enough designer to use those softwares the best way to their full capacity? That matters more. um, yes, AI and ML cannot make you a designer. You have to become a designer by yourself, and then AI and ML should be seen as resources which will help you make progress and ease out your day. Um, and there are a few great examples that I've seen. Like, you can, like, just type in what kind of website you want, and it creates a website for you, right? So even if AI is creating those sort of websites, right, there's still a need of a lot of hardcore user testing, a lot of heuristic evaluation, the context, right? uh, I'll talk about context for a second. So in user experience, context matters a lot, right? So when you are, like, what is the context that the user will be using your application in? That depends a lot, and that's the most important thing. So for example, you got a door handle, right? The door handle at your home versus the door handle in a mall are completely different, right? But fundamentally, those are just door handles, right? So why the difference? The difference is there because of the context in which they are going to be used, right? On homes, we usually have that latch, like, it turns, right? But in malls, you have a push and pull huge handles on the door so that more people can, you know, hold it, and they are easier to walk through. So that context, I think AI might be able to understand that context in future, but you can, I can guarantee that you can do a better task in understanding those contexts. So yes, become a great designer and then use AI and ML as resources for yourself. We've got more questions. Should we go for a regular degree in UX, or some short-term certification is enough? It really depends on your journey and where you are right now. So if you are already a person who is working in the experience industry and you need to level up your game, you need to learn a new skill. So you go for a short-term certification. But if you are if you are somebody who is either transitioning from a different discipline, or you're starting off fresh, right? So a more elaborate course is better for you, I think. Next question. Sir, can we be a better designer via commerce stream? Yes, why not? It that's a very good question actually, because you don't necessarily need to be from a tech background to be a great designer, right? Uh, like if you if you'll ask Nielsen Norman, or like somebody else who is a great grandfather of UX, they'll never say that I want somebody from the tech industry. They'll say I want people from different backgrounds. So the best design teams in the world are formed of multidisciplinary people. So uh, don't doubt it. Just go for it. Yeah, it does not matter. Next question is, hello sir, I'll be starting my bachelor's in UX next month, and I've been getting advice to start preparing my portfolio from day one. How exactly do we approach that? Starting my bachelor's in UX next month. Oh, okay. Yes. Hmm. Sakshi, uh, you are, you should, like, you're learning. You are about to start your course, right? So what you can do is you can go online. All of the resources that we just discussed, you can learn about those resources. Um Yes, you can read a lot about UX, and you can start preparing for what a portfolio should look like. Ideally, what happens is, in a portfolio, you've got a PDF or a website where you present all of your work, and a portfolio is something which is more important for you than a resume, I think, because everybody will see your portfolio and judge you. Sorry, judge your work. Sorry, judge your work. Yes, everybody will see your portfolio and they'll judge your work and say, okay, I like it, I don't like it, it might be the best thing, it might be the worst thing, right? It's a lot of opinions. So a portfolio comprises of case studies of all of the work that you've done. What you essentially do is you put your best work there, you create a case study and say, this is the problem, this is how I approached it, these are the challenges that I faced, these are the solutions that I could come up with. This is the reasoning behind my solutions that I came up with. This is how we tested with the users. My fellow colleagues say this about me, I got these reviews, right? So you put all of that in a of your project, and that's one case study. Now you can have, like, I would suggest having 3 or 4 case studies at max, never go more than that, because recruiters don't have so much time to go through each and every case study, and case studies are usually are in depth, right? So it's not like, it's, I don't think it's useful to have more than 3 or 4 case studies. The best approach would be, so when you're working on a project, you're creating something, try to document it side by side. That's the best advice I have gotten, that when you're working on a project, you start documenting that project in a case study in your portfolio side by side, so that you don't lose track of the thoughts, the mindset that you're already in. So you'll be able to write that case study in a more effective manner, versus when you'll do that 3 or 6 months later, right? so you should do it right away. But you're still starting your course, right? So right now you should not worry too much about your portfolio. You should more focus on learning the skills, learning the methodologies, the processes, the activities, right? And what you should do is you should read about portfolios. So take inspiration and reference from some of the best portfolios online. Go online and see what a portfolio looks like, right? And they are going to be portfolios which will overwhelm you, and they will be portfolios which will intimidate you, right? You don't need to worry about that. What you should focus is that I'll pick up a few great things from here, from there, and I'll create my own portfolio, and I'll have the good and great from the other places and put that in my own portfolio, right? So people are always going to be better than you. Don't let that intimidate yourself. That happens a lot in the design discipline. Run your own run. uh, Let it come to you. uh, I'll move on. Next one is, sir, what benefits a student get if has been from science stream during his or design degree? Well, I think people in general get benefit from whatever background they're from, right? So if you are a person from humanities, right, you have a different mindset and thought process altogether towards everything, right? In the same way, science also grooms you with a different mindset also, right? So I myself am from a science background. I think if you're from science background, for me, it helped me be more objective and more analytical towards problems, right? So I want to see hard proofs. I want to see the hard logic behind things happening, right? And that's a huge part of what we do. Like, we have to ask so many questions and whys and hows, right? So it prepares you for that. But I'm sure every other discipline serves equal importance, and they are going to groom you in a different way for your design journey. Varun Kumar, through AI/ML, which jobs are possible, sir? If you're talking about experience design, so like, you don't go from AI/ML to experience design. You first learn experience design, and then you leverage AI and ML to make your lives easier. If you're just talking about what are the jobs which you can get through AI and ML, that's a different story and journey, because AI and ML have so many things that you can work on. So, not sure if this is the right question. That's it. This is it. I think we covered.
Thank you so much, Deepesh.